President Donald Trump has repeatedly warned Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. And last night, bombs began to fall on Iran, on their nuclear facilities, on their intelligence facilities, and on their leaders. Multiple leaders of the Iranian military force killed in airstrikes led by Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel and the Israeli Air Force. The Israeli Air Force bombing several strategic targets in what was an attack that President Donald Trump knew about beforehand and did his best to stop. President Donald Trump had repeatedly for weeks said, we want to have Iran come to the negotiating table. We want to have Iran make a deal. But Iran refused to make a deal. And now targets, nuclear sites, key officials have all been eliminated by Israel in a retaliatory attack and also a preventive attack so that they can continue to prevent Iran from ever becoming a nuclear power, which would be devastating, not just for the United States of America, but of course for the country of Israel, which Iran has repeatedly continued to declare is its mortal enemy, and they seek their national pledge to seek the destruction of Iran by 2040, of Israel, by 2040. Israel doing everything they can to keep that from happening. Secretary of State Marco Rubio released a statement saying tonight Israel took unilateral action against Iran. That's very important. Unilateral, meaning this is not an American war. We are not involved in strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Israel advised us that they believe this action was necessary for its self-defense. President Trump and the administration have taken all necessary steps to protect our forces and remain in close contact with our regional partners. Let me be clear. Iran should not target U.S. interests or personnel. This comes, of course, yesterday when President Donald Trump was asked a question. Donald Trump was at the Kennedy Center for the production of Les Miserables, and he was asked a question about why the troops were maneuvering out of Iran.
Could you provide an update on Iran? We're hearing reports that U.S. personnel are being moved out of the region within striking distance. Well, they are being moved out because it could be a dangerous place, and we'll see what happens. But they are we've given notice to move out, and we'll see what happens. Is there anything that can be done to dial the temperature down in the region? They can't have a nuclear weapon. Very simply. They can't have a nuclear weapon. We're not going to allow that.
And that is something that Donald Trump has not strayed from. He's always said they cannot have a nuclear weapon. We will not allow them to have a nuclear weapon. And yesterday, when American forces were being moved out of the region, it was a pretty good barometer. It was a pretty good measure that the attack on Iran by Israel would be imminent. And clearly it was. President Donald Trump also released a statement. He said, I gave Iran a chance after chance to make a deal. I told them in the strongest of words to just do it. But no matter how hard they tried, no matter how close they got, they just couldn't get it done. I told them it would be much worse than anything they know, anticipated, or were told, that the United States makes the best and most lethal military equipment anywhere in the world, by far. And that Israel has a lot of it, with much more to come, and they know how to use it. Certain Iranian hardliners spoke bravely, but they didn't know what was about to happen. They are all dead now, and it will only get worse. There has already been great death and destruction, but there is still time to make this slaughter, with the next already planned attacks being even more brutal, come to an end. Iran must make a deal before there is nothing left and save what was once known as the Iranian Empire. No more death. No more destruction. Just do it before it's too late. God bless you all. President Donald Trump. Now, that was Donald Trump's statement on his Truth Social account. Yesterday, when he was speaking at the White House, he had he was asked again about Iran, and he said, look, we don't want any kind of war. We don't want any kind of military attacks on Iran. We want an agreement. It's very difficult, however, for them to come to an agreement.
Look, I want to have an agreement with Iran. We're fairly close to an agreement. We are fairly close to a pretty good agreement. It's got to be better than pretty good, though, but it's got to be, I'd much prefer an agreement. As long as I think there is an agreement, I don't want them going in, because I think I would blow it. Might help it, actually, but it also could blow it. But we've had very good discussions with Iran. Whether or not we get there, I can't tell you, but it'll happen soon. I say this, Peter, very strongly. They can't have, whether it's going in or not going in, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I'd prefer the more friendly path.
Yeah, the more friendly path, however, is not the path that Iran chose to take, and therefore the attacks are now underway. Brett Baer from Fox News had a phone call with President Donald Trump. We haven't heard directly from the president, but Brett Baer had a phone call and relayed some of the quotes and some of the opinions that Donald Trump had after the attack.
The president was aware of Israel's action before it happened. There were no surprises here. But he gave me a quote. He said, Iran cannot have a nuclear bomb. We're hoping to get back to the negotiating table. We'll see. There are several people in leadership in Iran that will not be coming back.
Bold statement from President Donald Trump. We will go back to the negotiating table. There will be several leaders who will not be joining us. That was Brett Baer, who's live in Jerusalem, which makes me think either Fox News got him out there pretty quickly, or maybe they had a heads up as well that this attack was imminent and they had their people already in place. This is a story that, again, that's continuing to grow. We will continue to follow. There will be, I'm almost certain of it, as you can see Donald Trump reading in his statement there, multiple attacks. That was the first wave. There will be another wave. Iran has made it clear that after this, there will be no more threat of a nuclear attack by Iran. I'm sorry, Israel has made it clear that after these attacks on Iran, there will no longer be a nuclear threat coming from that particular country. Their goal after the October 7th attacks, after everything that's been going on with Hezbollah and Hamas, after Iran has just used money, much of it given to them by Barack Obama, to fund terrorism and attacks against Iranians and Jews in the nation, in the area. They now have made it clear that they are going to once and for all destroy any nuclear capability that Iran may have. No word on Russia yet and their involvement. No word on China or North Korea. Hopefully this attack will be decisive and will quell any and all, other aggression from any other countries. But we'll see. And Donald Trump, of course, has pledged no troops on the ground. Donald Trump has removed troops from the area. And Secretary Marco Rubio saying, we will protect any and all American forces and assets on the ground. Iran better not do anything, step out of line at all when it comes to the American forces. Speaking of stepping out of line, something very interesting happened with Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem yesterday. She was giving a speech, an update in Los Angeles about the ICE raids and the riots that have been consuming the city, the protesters, both, peaceful and not so peaceful, the attacks on police officers, the National Guard and the Marines being called in to keep the peace because Mayor Bass in LA and Governor Gavin Newsom have refused to do so. And here was her update. And during her update, something very bizarre happened.
The images that we've seen out of Los Angeles the last several days has simply been un-American by the protesters and the violence that we've seen perpetuated. Masked thugs are assaulting police officers. They're setting vehicles on fire. They're waving foreign flags on American soil while burning American flags, and they've damaged public property and destroyed private businesses. We need to make sure that we are continuing to protect the citizens that live here and want this community to be safe. Let me give you just a few examples of those who have been rioting that many politicians like Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass are defending. There was a Vietnamese illegal alien who committed a mass shooting at a graduation party in 1994 that we've been able to take off the streets. A Filipino illegal alien that was convicted of an assault with intent to commit rape that we.
And while she was speaking, she was going through a litany of all of the people that they've arrested. While she was speaking, Senator Alex Padilla, this is one of the two senators from California. Senator Alex Padilla showed up at the meeting. He was unannounced. He was unidentified. He did not have his pin on. He wasn't dressed in a suit. He didn't really identify himself in any way, shape, or form other than verbally. And he lunged at Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem. I don't know what he was trying to do, but security guards had to, I don't know if it was Secret Service, police, but they had to surround him, haul him out of the room, subdue him, and arrest him.
Hands up, hands up. I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the Secretary, because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your hands off.
Many of our ICE agents have been docked for doing their duty.
He was thrown out of the room. He was taken into the hallway. The police officers threw him on the ground.
Hands on your back.
If you let my hands go, put him behind my back.
All right. Cool. One hand. Lay flat.
They threw the cuffs on him.
Other hand, sir. Other hand.
And then they took him out. This guy, as far as they knew, was a threat to the Secretary of Homeland Security, a major member of President Donald Trump's cabinet. He didn't identify himself. He had no identifying. He didn't have his senatorial pin on, any of those things. And he just bum rushed the meeting, uninvited, started screaming and yelling like a lunatic. All of it, of course, we believe to be perfectly staged, much like LaMonica McIver in New Jersey. It's the second high-profile elected Democrat who's been arrested for disturbing the peace and attacking members of Donald Trump's administration and also law enforcement officials in the last few weeks. The Democrat Party, apparently they're devoid of any and all kinds of ideas, so now they're just going into physical, violent, illegal attacks, and they're trying to get themselves arrested. Now, Kristi Noem, after this happened, sat down and spoke with Senator Padilla.
I had a conversation with the senator after this. We sat down for 10 to 15 minutes and talked about the fact that nobody knew who he was. He didn't say who he was, that until he was already had been lunging forward and people were trying to detain him for quite a period of time. And that this, we're leaders, we're public servants. And if he had requested a meeting, I would have loved to have sat down and had a conversation with him. That coming into a press conference like this is political theater. It's wrong, and it does a disservice to this country and the people who live here. So we sat down, had a conversation. We probably disagree on 90% of the topics, but we agreed to exchange phone numbers. We'll continue to talk and share information, and I think that's the way it should be in this country. I wish he would have acted that way in the beginning instead of creating a scene like this.
Well, the fact of the matter was, creating the scene got him a lot of publicity, and he was everywhere yesterday and continues to be today. I mean, here I am talking about him once again. So whatever he was hoping to accomplish by bursting into Kristi Noem's press conference, unfortunately, he did accomplish. Now, there's a couple of other big things going on, including the big, beautiful bill, the one big, beautiful bill, which continues to make moves. I believe that the momentum is growing for the one big, beautiful bill, even though President Donald Trump says he's still got to convince Rand Paul. He loves Rand Paul. He's a good friend of Rand Paul's, but Rand Paul is a tough vote, and Donald Trump still has some work to do to win him over.
I do. I look forward to seeing him, actually. I like him. He's the hardest vote in the history of the U.S. Senate to get. Probably won't get him, but he's a very tough vote. I mean, he's a very tough vote. He's always been a friend of mine. I endorsed him and got him elected. I got him elected twice, but I don't think he understands how great this bill is. This is a great bill. No tax on tips, no tax on, the Social Security payments. It's unbelievable what happens. No tax on overtime. You work overtime, no more tax. It's so, those are big, but they're minor compared to the big things. Taxes reduced. And let's look at the other side. If it doesn't get approved, a 68% tax increase, 68%, including the fact that the Trump tax cuts kick in. But it's a 68% tax increase and many other bad things. I don't even want to, some of them are so bad, I don't even want to talk about them.
Also, there's benefits to every other agency and every other department and a lot of other things, including Health and Human Services. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the Secretary of Health and Human Services, was on with somebody or other, I think it was Fox News, and he was asked about that. And he said, look, the one big beautiful bill, the OBBB, does a lot for our department and the health of Americans as well.
I know that you feel strongly about the big beautiful bill. Tell us what the impact is on HHS for you.
Well, it's going to open. It's going to help us do what we need to do with healthcare in this country, which is to improve the quality of our healthcare and lower the cost and give Americans more choice. One of the things that it does, it allows health savings accounts, which are very popular with the American people, so that you can put pre-tax money aside to pay for certain things that are relevant to healthcare. For example, gym memberships will be paid for. For $75 a month, under this bill, you'll be able to get a concierge doctor who is available 24 hours a day, every day of the week, every day of the year. And you'll be able, and you won't get a bill for it. You won't have to file insurance claims. It's just like old style healthcare, but it's for $75 a month. We're also going to allow the creation of on-site medical centers by employers at factories, at workplaces where workers can get treated for free. somebody won't have to leave work for 4 or 5 hours to get a medical checkup. They'll be able to do that on site. There are many, many other really great things in this bill that
very
we need to get
interesting.
it passed.
And also small businesses. Kelly Loeffler was out there saying, look, this is a small business bill as well, and it's going to do a lot for small businesses. This is something that, again, continues to move forward on every aspect. And Donald Trump has his entire cabinet, his entire legion of generals and captains out there selling this to the American people and, of course, to the people who are voting for it in the Senate and in the House of Representatives.
Hey everyone, Kelly Loeffler. I've just come from a meeting with my former colleagues in the Senate. They understand how important small business is. The One Big Beautiful Bill is a small business bill. In fact, it's the most important small business bill we've ever had in the history of this country. Why? Because it makes permanent the 23% pass-through deduction. It creates immediate expensing for capital investments, for R&D, and for Made in America. It's pro-worker. It creates more take-home pay for our workers. No tax on tip, no tax on overtime. It doubles the child tax credit. Many of these benefits happen now in 2025. That's the urgency in getting this bill passed. We know Main Street is spring-loaded for growth, for investment and hiring. I'm so grateful for President Trump fighting for small business every single day, and the SBA is so proud to support this bill.
And the bill, I believe, it looks like is getting closer and closer to fruition. Donald Trump, of course, putting that July 4th deadline on the One Big Beautiful Bill. This weekend, Donald Trump will be celebrating his 79th birthday on Saturday, Flag Day, and also the 250th anniversary of the Army with that massive military parade in Washington, D.C. They are calling for some rain and showers, but I believe at this moment the parade will be going on. I'll be there live to bring you all kinds of great video footage and updates and that kind of stuff. Plus, later on today, there's much more to talk about. Not just things that are directly coming from the White House or the President Donald Trump administration, but also from, the news in general. And we have a second daily podcast where we cover all this stuff and way more. It's called Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. If you're not yet a subscriber, it's the perfect time to do so. If you want more information every single day delivered to you in an entertaining and informative way, go to your favorite podcast platform, whether it's Spotify or iTunes. I don't know where you're getting your podcast, but wherever you are, go there, search Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. Download, listen, and enjoy.